And without further ado, we'll be moving into the A final of the men's single. Very exciting race. So in lane 1, we have the pair from Alberta rowing with Carter Cranner-Smith and Albert Harkema. We have in lane 2 the pair from Row Ontario, Curtis Ames and Ryan Clegg. The pair from Rowing BC, Joel Cullen and Jack Walkey, are reigning national champions. The pair from Row Ontario in lane 4, Jacob Buchek and Cody Bailey. Another pair from Row Ontario in lane 5, Will Crothers and Gavin Stone. And in lane 6, our pair from Alberta rowing, Axel Ewashko and Emerson Crick. That last pair actually is a combination pair between Alberta Rowing Association and Nova Scotia, Emerson being an athlete from Nova Scotia.
So the athletes now are going to be under starters' orders, just waiting for that last little call over before the start commences.
Now, Taylor, the pairs event you know very well, correct?
That's right. I was fortunate to make the pair in 2018, and I managed a 4th place there. And it's one of the most incredible boat classes because you just have a very small unit of 2 people. So in terms of personality, it's quite easy to manage. But this boat class is also very technical, so you need to be able to bring not only the physical aspect towards it, but also the technical aspect.
So we have a number of athletes who raced in the men's 8 this summer for Team Canada, correct?
That's right. So in this final, we have we have Ryan Clegg and Curtis Ames who have raced in the men's 8, as well as lane 3, Joel Cullen and Jack Walkey, Jacob Buchek and Cody Bailey in lane 4, Gavin Stone and Will Crothers as well. So we're getting a absolute masterclass here of experience in pairs rowing. Will Crothers, I'm sure this is his 15th or 16th national championships that he's raced at, so an incredible amount of experience as we see the crews begin.
And in addition to being national champions, or having a national championship on the line, these teammates will know that it means a big deal to push out as a top pair within your training group.
Absolutely. So the men's 8, of course, needs to go to the last chance qualifier for the Olympic Games last year, and where they'll have to compete for one of 2 spots. So these athletes will obviously want to be securing their funding and make sure that they're a tight, cohesive unit for when they arrive in Switzerland next year.
Now, someone once described rowing to me as kind of a tightrope walker walking on a tightrope and using the balance beam as the oars. And then in this analogy, that would mean that the other person has half of the balance beam. It's really important that you match your power curves to each other.
A very apt description, Andrea. The pair requires working around a system that is going to help you generate not only speed but also balance as well too, and also using it to your advantage. Some athletes will sit in a certain position in this crew because they can row longer. Some will sit in another position, such as the bow seat, which would be the athlete on the left of our screen, who's going to be more technical.
And one thing I think we have to acknowledge too is that pairs are partnerships. It's not just a relationship between 2 athletes. It's the emotional, it's the psychological connection that you have to have. It's knowing your pair partner, when they like to go, and how that communication aspect. Taylor, what would you do in the pair for communication?
Well, one thing would be to relentlessly talk about everything and make sure that we were on the exact same page with every single movement that we had, and knowing exactly when we wanted to execute certain parts of our race plan.
So we can see the pair from Rowing British Columbia, Joel Cullen and Jack Walkey, have pushed out to a lead here. Now these pair, Andrea, they were also at the Royal Henley in the UK, correct?
Yes, they certainly were in the men's pair. And I believe that they are also, Jack Walkey in the bow there is a 2-time defending champion in this exact boat category with a new partner this year.
Yeah, these 2 raced together at the University of Washington before joining the national team this summer. Did quite well coming to the semifinals in the men's pair at the Henley Royal Regatta.
That's right, where they faced off against the British men's pair. Jack Walkey, of course, a recently crowned under-23 world champion from 2021 in the men's 4. So we have a lot of very accomplished athletes in this final.
We were talking about communication earlier, and I think it's worth noting when you're in the single, it's just you by yourself. But usually there's a breakdown in terms of responsibilities in a men's pair, Taylor. So one of you will be in the bow. Can you walk us through the differences in a pair between the responsibilities of stroke versus bow?
Well, in the particular pair that I was rowing, my responsibility was to set the rhythm and stroke seat, but I was also in charge of steering. And my partners who were sitting in the bow seat, like you see Jacob Buchek here on the left, he would be in charge of making the calls, but also directing your course on the water and saying where he needs me to steer to.
these athletes would have a race plan, and they would know exactly, they would have communicated on land exactly what their plan was for the event, but then the little tactical moves that you make either come from the bow, or even the stroke can make a tactical move sometimes.
That's right. And, of course, being able to communicate that, most of these things are going to be communicated beforehand, so there's not going to be anything that's thrown out there as a surprise to these athletes.
Little look at a bow there, demonstrating perfectly on point exactly what the role of the bow is, to take a look at the course and to make sure that they know where all the other athletes are. It's such a physical sport here. I know they make it look so easy, but rowers use 86% of their muscles when we're competing, and these men's pairs are only about 60 pounds, so they're quite light boats still that they're propelling through the water.
So you can see that just the wake of the boat that's in first place, that pair of Joel Cullen and Jack Walkey have pushed out to a sizable lead here as we conquer the third 500 meters.
That's right. That pair has really punched out and made a statement. And I can see just here from lane 4, Cody Bailey, recently married 2 weeks ago, and Jacob Buchek, a former lightweight at Columbia University in the U.S. and also a Tokyo Olympian, have really decided, okay, one crew's punched out, we're going to try and go for that silver medal. And they're being tracked very closely by the pair of Curtis Ames and Ryan Clegg there in lane 2, followed very closely by Will Carruthers and Gavin Stone out there in lane 5, excuse me. And this brilliant pair from Alberta in the lane closest to us, lane 1, has really made a huge step up to make it into this final. And I'm really impressed that they're hanging in there for this long.
Yeah, you always wonder if an athlete or if a combination goes out this hard, whether or not they've done what every rower is familiar with, which is a fly and die, which means you go out too fast and you can't maintain. But they're looking so strong here. It doesn't look like they're bringing their rate of striking down, do they?
No, they're really rowing very smooth around the back end. You see when they take those oars out of the water, they have that little bit of composure, which is allowing the boat to run out, generate that efficient boat speed before they can turn around and take that next stroke.
First to the 250 left, and they're already about to go into the red buoys here. They're absolutely in another time zone here, this combination of Cullen and Walkey. Jack Walkey really showing his stuff, and it looks like he's going to be shortly a 3-time defending champion in the men's pair.
That's right. This crew is still plowing a lone furrow out in front, and it looks like that race for silver and bronze is going to be heating up pretty quickly there between the pair from Roe, Ontario.
This is where it counts. It's only a couple meters left, and the decision has to be made. There's 3 medals still on the table. We think we know gold is sewn up, but the question will be, who will get silver and bronze? Rate of striking is increasing here. Our legs are twitching underneath the commentary table. Here they come to the finish line, Max.
Yeah, less than 5 strokes to go there. Cullen and Walkey coming to the finish line. We'll look to hear that buzzer. It looks as though the pair that was in second have had some steering issues, are coming into their lane. As long as they aren't impeding, they won't be relegated. But look at that. Second place goes to,
I believe that was Cody Bailey
and Jacob Buchek, who had their steering issues but managed to come across the line with Will Carruthers and Gavin Stone finishing in bronze.
And we're looking right now for the umpire to raise that white flag, signifying that there are no, that it was a clean and fair race. And yes, we have it.
There we are.
Wow.
Maybe we can talk a little bit about steering issues under stress. We talked earlier about how, if you only have half the balance beam, you really need to make sure that you're applying power together. And in these last 250 meters, it's almost like you're going blind. The athletes are throwing everything they can at that, and it may be hard to stay in a straight line.
That's right. So on top of having to balance the boat, it's quite common for athletes to lose their hearing, to